Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I have with me Andrew Wynn, co-founder at Ascend. Andrew, thank you for being with me today. How's it going?
Hey, Tony, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me today.
My pleasure. And you are New York City based, right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay. Cool. So we're recording on April 11th. How is it spring in New York City or is it still winter?
It's deciding. It's some days it's winter, some days it's spring.
Okay, gotcha. So we always give the guests a chance to give kind of the elevator pitch. What is Ascend?
Sure. Ascend is an all-in-one payments platform purpose-built for insurance. And what that means is we make accepting insurance payments really, really simple. Whether you're an agent, a broker, or a carrier, we want to make it easier for people to protect the things they care about.
Okay, so I've spent about 12 years in the insurance space, mostly on the carrier side, and then nowadays in staffing, recruiting, all of it for the insurance industry. Payments, like if insurance is not particularly sexy, payments would seem even less sexy. So what I'm saying is it seems to me that at this point, if I have either a broker or a carrier, why can't I just use Stripe or a generic payment provider that's not insurance specific?
Sure. I mean, first off, no one ever said it was sexy, so I won't pretend like it is. But payments, insurance, as we know, is a very, very specific industry. It's also it's huge, right? It's a P&C insurance is $1 trillion market alone, right? And so, and the needs of payments are pretty specific within that. And so, if you think about how people buying insurance can pay today, there's lots of different permutations and options of how that might work. So if I'm buying insurance from, let's say I'm buying 2 policies from an agency, let's say one is E&S and the other is admitted. That means right now I probably have 2 different payment flows that I'm going to go into. One might be direct bill to monthly installments to a carrier. And so, that's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to go to travelers.com and start paying. But that's also a little bit complicated because, wait a second, I'm buying it from the agency, right? And we know that the agent is often the person who owns that customer relationship. So it's kind of strange paying somebody else. That's number one on the direct bill side. And let's say the other policy that I'm buying is an E&S policy, and now the agent is saying, great, you can pay me a check, $10,000, and you have to write that check to me. So, well, what if I want to pay with a credit card? Well, I could maybe, like you said, use Stripe, but what number of agencies are using products like Stripe? I would argue it's probably pretty low. And then lastly, what if I don't have $10,000, or I don't want to pay $10,000 and I actually want monthly payments on this policy like I have on the other one? Now I have to start working with a finance company, and that's a whole other party in the equation. So now I'm buying my policy from, Andrew's agency, and it's from XYZ carrier, and I'm paying ABC finance company. And now I have all kinds of different payments going on. So, I do think there is a real confusion from the insured perspective around payments. And it's really just it's not where it is in other industries.
Okay, perfect. So that's making a lot of sense. Okay, so and you're right. It's the combination of direct bill for some policies, agency bill for others, premium finance for when needed, definitely becomes complicated. So basically, if I'm a broker, if I'm understanding correctly, the idea of Ascend is that I can provide my client a streamlined single bill the way they want it, monthly or or a one-time payment in a completely modern way, basically.
That's right. And branded to whoever's collecting that
Oh,
payment.
okay,
So in this case,
and
the
white
broker.
labeled.
Yes. And that's sort of the visible part of the iceberg, right? So that's the
Okay.
insured experience, which is super important, right? We all know in insurance right now that there's a focus on improving and digitizing the customer experience. But that's not enough, right? That's not all we're trying to do as an industry. The other thing we're trying to do is just improve our own efficiencies, right? And so all of this complicated payment stuff we just talked about has an impact to the customer and how they get to pay, but it also has an impact to the agency, the wholesaler, and the carrier. So let's say I'm that agent, right, who now has that two policies, one direct bill. Now, how do I know that the carrier is sending me the right commission in my direct bill policy and who that producer is and is getting the right commission, right? And I have
Generally,
to,
what I've heard is that they have very little idea on whether that's
they don't
correct,
know, yeah,
and that it's a
and
pain
how long it's going to
to figure out the
take,
producer
right?
piece.
That's right. And so that's just the one policy. Then the other policy, they're like, shoot, I have this $10,000 check. I need to net my commission out. I need to figure out, who the wholesaler is and which office of the wholesaler is. I need to pay them. I need to pay them fast enough so that the customer, the policy doesn't get canceled. And then that wholesaler needs to pay the carrier and they do all this work. And so there's the customer experience, but there's also a lot of work, right, associated with handling payments for an agency. And ultimately, that detracts from what insurance professionals need to do, which is, again, help people protect the things they care about, right? These insurance brokers are in the business of helping people mitigate and manage their risk, not handling payments, right, and sending checks. And so we think by Ascend also greatly reduces that operational burden to the agency, and we think that actually helps folks be more efficient at what they're trying to do, which is protect their customers' interests.
Okay, so if I'm a broker and
Yeah.
I listen to this and I'm like, okay, this is wonderful. Like
Yeah.
I have this pain every day. I want this. Can I sign up myself as a single user, or do I have to convince the principals of my brokerage to sign us up as as an overall brokerage? How is that designed?
Yeah, I can explain a little bit about just how some of that stuff happens, and then also how to take advantage. So on signing up, we can typically start working with individuals, and that's what we've seen to be most successful. Obviously, it depends on your organization and what level of permission and buy-in and stuff you need. But we start working with individuals, and we can get people going in as little as 30 minutes. We need your logo. You need to go in and onboard your bank accounts, which often requires a principal. We take your operational account and your trust account, and then off to the races. And the way it works is, let's say I'm a broker. I have a customer who wants to, for whatever reason, they need to agency bill a policy. That broker can go in, or account manager can go in, and in the most manual version, we can also do integrations into AMS, but in the most manual version, they can come in, enter the policy information, the insured information, who they are, their address, their contact info. They can go in, select the carrier, select the wholesaler, put in some of the information about the policy, like minimum earned. Great. Pretty quick, maybe a few minutes per policy. They can create a cart of up to 9 policies, and then that will create a checkout link that is totally branded to that agency. That account manager or principal can just click send email, and that will send a checkout link to the insured. They can also copy the link and create their own email or SMS it, whatever they want to do. It's up to you. It's your customer. But then that insured gets a checkout link, and that gives 2 options. Hey, do you want to pay in full? And here's what happens if you pay in full. You can pay via credit card or ACH or wire. You choose. We break out all the taxes and fees. Very simple. Or hey, do you want to pay monthly? And then we create a premium finance agreement. It's instant. It's at point of sale. There's no different processes for finance versus pay in full. and it goes automatically. So you don't need to ask your customer, hey, do you want to finance this? They just get the option automatically. And then if they do finance it, they would pay the down payment. We would actually collect the down payment, and we would just net the broker their commission, and we would pay the markets for them. So the broker is just like, great, the customer checked out. Here's my commission straight into my operational account. The market has been paid. They can see in our dashboard the date and the status of those outgoing payments to the markets, and reconcile their AMS, whatever they need to do operationally, and they're done.
So as Ascend itself is not just a payment system. You guys are the premium finance company yourselves.
Yeah, we offer the payments and premium financing in one place. Instead of having two relationships, we want to simplify it, right? Both for the insured, but also for the agency. Why maintain two different options and having two different ways? Ultimately, we're trying to reduce the number of ways in which money can come into an agency so that it's easier to manage. And today it can come in from a finance company, it can come in from a digital payment company, it can come in from a carrier, from commission direct bill, it could come in from a check, directly from the insured. Some people still take cash and money orders, right? So there's lots of different ways which make running the agency and reconciling those policies very challenging. And so Ascend works to consolidate all of those and then also handle the operational pieces downstream so that the money flows just work as opposed to becoming work.
I like that. The money just works instead of becoming work. That's a good line. So I'm always curious how this came to happen. How do you come up with the idea? So looking at your LinkedIn, I do see that you spent some time at Hippo. But I'm assuming that Hippo doesn't have this problem as much as a traditional carrier. So how did you realize this was a problem?
Yeah. So my co-founder and I have worked together for a long time now. A few companies, and we actually started a company together, which we sold to Hippo. That company did nothing to do with insurance, but we partnered with insurance carriers. That business was called Shelter. It was proactive home services, and that's now lives on as Hippo Home Care. The business was acquired by Hippo in 2019, which is how we ended up there. And what we saw at Hippo is just how hard it is to build an insurance company from the ground up, because you have to do two things. You have to build the customer experience, right? And all of the interactions, as well as the insurance product. It's not just a regular business where you have to just build the one thing. In insurance, you have to build both. And what we realized was that's also part of the reason it's quite hard. And I think we've seen insurtechs do really well at building customer experience and struggle a little bit on the insurance product. And I would argue we've seen the opposite from the incumbent or legacy carriers, where they obviously are really good at building insurance products and have hundreds of years of experience, but the consumer product is lacking. And we're like,
yeah, they're product centric, not customer centric.
That's right. And so we looked at that and lived it a little bit, and we realized, unlike something like, let's say, e-commerce, insurance, you have to build everything yourself, right? There aren't sort of tools that you can pull in as much to do these critical business functions. So if I want to start a shoe company online, or shoe seller, I just have to find someone to make my shoes and figure out who my customer is, and the rest I can use Shopify and Stripe and Amazon and Returnly and all the stuff, right? But in insurance, you can't just stitch together those pieces, and that's what makes this really challenging to build a new insurance company or modernize an existing one. And so we realized that we believe that there might be opportunity in building some of this infrastructure type pieces. And so we looked to, where that was happening in the market today. And we looked at companies like AgentSync, right? Great example of every carrier needs to check producer compliance. Not everyone needs to build that themselves, right? What are other companies like that? And payments was an area where we realized it was very industry specific, as we just talked about, because of the intermediation, because of endorsements, because of reconciliation, but pretty generalizable within the, everyone has the same problems, right? And so that's an area where we decided to focus and wanted to build this end-to-end payments solution for insurance, so that if you're starting a new brokerage, for example, you can just use Ascend off the shelf and it works. You don't have to cobble together all these different things or build it yourself.
Makes sense. Perfect. So when the episode goes live, I'll tag you on LinkedIn and include the website for Ascend. And one very important question. What does the revenue model look like? Is it by the transaction? Is it by the head? Is it by the month? What does it look like for a broker looking to bring you in?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the other reason we decided to work on payments is we wanted to find a really, viable business model in insurance. And being a SaaS business in insurance can be quite challenging, right? Because you have 40,000 brokers on one side who are only willing to pay so much per head, right? And there's only so much there. And you have, a handful of carriers on the other side who will pay tens of millions of dollars, but it's going to take you just many years to get there, right? And so you're kind of stuck between these two places on SaaS. And so we realized, well, another advantage of payments is you can monetize on premium and not compete for it. We're not competing for commission premium, we're just factoring it. And so the way we make money is on a transaction fee for pay in full, just like Stripe makes money. That can be paid by the brokerage or carrier if they want, or it can be passed on to the customer. It's your business, right? We don't pretend to know about insurance. We know about e-commerce and improving customer experiences, which is what we did at Hippo. And ultimately, we defer to you on that. Whatever maximizes your net revenue, go for it. We are an enabling tool. We won't tell you how to run your business. And then the same is true for premium finance. We have a base rate, which we charge, which needs to be met. And then you can do what Peloton does with a firm and pay down the points to zero if you want to create 0% financing. If you're selling, I don't know, some very high margin insurance, or you can do what a lot of folks do, which is add a couple of points onto those premium finance rates and make a little bit more revenue yourself as a brokerage. But again, that's up to you. Whatever will maximize your net revenue is your decision. We won't ever dictate that.
Okay, I actually had never thought about premium finance. I never thought about the fact that brokers could do that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is like on the financing, what we also believe, is going back to, maximizing net revenue is there's two ways to do that. There's obviously increasing purchase conversion, right? So making it very simple for customers to pay, as well as offering a very attractive finance solution at point of sale. We believe and have seen increases purchase conversion. A lot of financing in insurance today is quite frictionful, right? There's a lot of back and forth, there's a lot of process, and that's a little counter to how financing works as a sales tool, right? It should actually remove friction. So, that's one way we help folks do it, is just by increasing conversion, as well as by obviously reducing a lot of the operational costs that we talked about by virtue of just paying you your commission and paying the markets. That reduces a huge amount of operational costs. So, we hope that you don't have to add points on, right, in order to justify using something like Ascend. But again, it's your business. We think we'll be able to help independent of that, though.
Okay. And to get a demo, I see that there's see a demo.
Useascend.com. Sign up for a demo.
At useascend.com. Okay, so super easy.
And my email is Andrew@useascend. If you have questions or you ever want to talk or schedule a demo, I'm happy to hop on a Zoom and show folks too. Perfect.
Any conferences that you'll be at this year, in case people wanna shake your hand in person?
Shaking hands, it's a new world again. We're doing that. No, I really am glad to be back on the road and seeing folks. It's been great. We have a bunch of conferences this year. I don't have the full list, but it's a lot of the big ones. ITC is obviously the one that comes to mind right away for me. But we're at pretty much every big broker focused conference. So you can find us there.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. It's an area of the industry I never thought of, but yes, it definitely makes sense.
But you shouldn't have to think about it. It should just work, right? Payments should be easy. That's the point.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew.
Tony, appreciate it. Thank you.